방송광고 발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
South Korea is a country with, of course, the latest Nobel Literature laureate. But it's also a country where 60% of its adults have not read a single book in the last year. Well, this has trickled down to the young population, the younger people, with students also reading fewer books than ever. So what does this mean? It means that students' library and, of course, their literary and reading comprehension skills are getting worse. There's been this kind of reading boom of sorts after the announcement of the Nobel Prize. And hopefully this will lead to reading becoming a way of life and not just a brief trend. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, October 17th on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope that you're all doing well and really enjoying what the fall season has to offer us right now. You know, this news of Han Gang's win for the Nobel Prize in Literature, it was kind of this win for everybody. We felt it collectively, did we not? Really, really happy. But also, this is a big coup for the book industry, publishing. This industry has been going through some of its toughest times as book readership has been on this consistent decline. This apparently is true for both adults and children. According to the Education Ministry, an average student last year checked out 17.2 books from their school library. And that is down by 21% compared to 10 years ago. So in just a decade, the numbers have gone down pretty drastically, 21%. And this is in spite of school libraries growing bigger and better with increases in funding and, of course, librarians as well. An average student last year read 34 books, but that included their mandatory reading. And this is much higher than the average adult readership of 3.9 books per year. But still, a decline of 14 points from 10 years ago. Reading, I think we know, at least in our minds, that it is important. It's integral, not just for acquiring knowledge, but expanding our horizons, developing empathy, and even reading comprehension skills, 문해력. So this has far-reaching effects from things like, yes, test grades, even attention span, to things like communication skills. And we know that communication skills, that continues throughout, your years as a student into adulthood forever. So yes, this win by Han Gang, it is amazing. We get it. But I think it also can remind us of the power of literature. And hopefully this power will be long-lasting across our reading culture. That's what we're hoping for. Now it is time to talk about our text topic already. Here we go. How long have you lived in your current home or maybe your neighborhood? I've lived in the same neighborhood ever since I moved to Korea, but I have moved a couple times. But how long have you lived in your current home or neighborhood? Do you have any hopes or maybe plans of moving? 자, 나는 지금 집 혹은 동네에 몇 년째 살고 있는지. That's our question for today. 이사 가고 싶다 아니면 계속 이 집에 살고 싶다. Oh, that's kind of interesting, is it not, the question? Meaning, Do you have hopes of moving? Or maybe you're really satisfied with where you're living. Maybe the area, maybe your neighbors, your neighborhood, you love it. And you say, hey, I don't need to move. That's what we're talking about. Sending your messages to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. So go to that platform, YouTube. We're streaming right now live. And you search for BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Subscribe, log in, and you can chat with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me through our KakaoTalk channel. Same thing. BEFM or 부산 영어 방송. Type it in and yes, send in your messages and also photos too. You can listen to us in so many ways these days, right? 90.5 or 103.3 FM in the Busan area. That's on the radio. Also, like I just said, we're streaming live on YouTube. But the good thing about that, you can watch again later at your leisure. We also have our own BEFM app that you can download for free. And also, we're available on Patbang, so you can download that app as well. Looking ahead to our morning together. So first up, we have Chris, and he's going to come in for Beyond the Headlines. So, what exactly is this segment, you might ask? So it's going beyond or behind, just the first page headline news. There's still lots of really interesting news out there. So we tackle that with Chris. And then Han will be joining me for City Insights. That's coming up in hour number 2. Always really interesting interviews that she goes into. That's in hour number 2. For our special interview, actually, we have 2 for you today. So first up, we're going to talk about the latest. You've probably heard or seen the news regarding North Korea blowing up the roads connecting the two Koreas. And some people are kind of nervous about what this actually means. So we're going to talk about that. And then we also have our next special interview. This is regarding, I think it's a really trending subject these days. The fact that people are saying, oh, maybe we can live to 90, 100 or beyond. Well, people are saying that, but is that really true? We're going to speak to one professor, one expert in this field about life expectancy. Is it hitting a certain limit, a ceiling? Let's find out. That's all in hour number 2, and I'll be back with news headlines. It is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. Rival parties secure by-election wins in strongholds. The ruling and main opposition parties won crucial regional by-elections in their respective strongholds in an election that was largely seen as a barometer of public opinion. South Korea monitoring possibility of North Korea sending troops to Ukraine. The Defense Ministry said yesterday it is closely monitoring signs of North Korea possibly sending troops to Russia to support Russia in its war against Ukraine. Police catch 474 suspects over deep fake sex crimes. Police have rounded up 474 people connected to deep fake sex crimes so far this year, with over 80% of the suspects being teenagers. South Korea adds over 100,000 jobs in September. South Korea added more than 100,000 jobs for the third consecutive month in September, but jobs in the construction sector fell by the most ever amid an industry slowdown. Israeli tank fires at UN peacekeeper tower in southern Lebanon. UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon say an Israeli tank has again fired at one of its watchtowers in a direct and apparently deliberate attack. And these are today's headlines. It's time to say good morning to Haley. So let's do that. Hello.
Good morning.
So before we jump into our updates for today. How long have you lived in your current home?
Current home, I think 6 years. It was definitely like right before COVID, so do the math. But my family, we've definitely done our fair share of moving. I think I've moved 6 different times during elementary school. So I went to like 4 different elementary schools, moved 6 different times. And so yeah, we're sick of moving. So yeah, cross country moves. So we do want to not move. We hate moving. We're done. No more packing. But we do want to live in a bigger unit because I mean the unit that we live in, it's like perfect for 2 adults and 2 children. Except the 2 children are
grown up
grown
now.
humans. So we have like grown up stuff, like volumes of stuff. So yeah.
Stuff that you apparently don't throw out, right?
Like, yeah, I don't do that. So we're just like, now we're on to like, so who's gonna move out for between the 2 adult children, and it's not gonna be me. So
Your younger sister, you're
we
gonna
have-
kick her out?
Well, she's gonna move. She's more independent than I am, hopefully. So my dad and I are both like eyeing her room. We have plans. I have plans.
Dibs
Yeah.
on your sister's room. I wonder if she knows, but we're going to dive into her first update. You know, we have some good news regarding the Kadok Airport.
We do some progress finally. So Hyundai Consortium has officially announced that they will carry out the foundational construction, so the literal groundwork for the property of Kadok Airport.
Yes.
So the consortium sent an official notice to the Public Procurement Service, or 조달청, informing them of their intent to sign a private contract. So with this, the consortium will launch the basic plans for the next 6 months. And when these plans pass the government Central Construction and Technology Assessment Panel, then the consortium and the government will officially sign a contract. And that's due to happen within the first half of next year. So the head of City's Kadok Airport team said that it will provide all the necessary support so that construction may go on as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And Hyundai Consortium promised that it will carry out the plans as promised.
I see. So that is, of course, good news. I mean, that things are moving along. So we're going to talk about another major part of infrastructure here in Busan, the Mandok to Sendam City Urban Expressway. It's almost complete, right?
Almost. So this is Daesimdo, or the Daesimdo, an underground urban expressway that'll connect the always congested Mandok to another always congested Sendam City area.
Right.
So that road, it has constant traffic issues. So this is 9.62 kilometers. It's expected to ease traffic going from Chungneuldaero to Suyeong Gangbyeondaero by Suyeong River. Key roads that really cut through the city, but because of how many popular neighborhoods it crosses, it is heavily congested. It usually takes 40 minutes, depending on traffic, but the expressway is expected to take you from Mandok to Sentam in 11 minutes, so cutting that by about a quarter. Good news. So every exit has been opened, and the city's construction headquarters held a ribbon cutting ceremony there yesterday.
Yes.
Construction, for a bit of history, began in October of 2019. It is currently 67% completed. But the expectation is that it'll open for operations in January of 2026, and having all the underground exits open is a major part of that.
Indeed.
So the remaining parts now are the internal work for the tunnels, and the city promised to carry out the construction as scheduled.
So, kind of double good news to start off our morning.
Yeah.
So, while we're on the topic of traffic, on the traffic of Suyeong Gangbyeondaero, the traffic on this road apparently has really gotten worse recently.
Right. So, good news is it will get better, but unfortunately for life, things have to get worse before they get better.
Yes.
Because there's another construction project going on, and that's to blame for that heavy traffic. So there's now a new ramp being built to connect Sentam City straight onto Gwangan Bridge. So the goal is to ease traffic in the long term in this very congested area, and that's to be also completed in January of 2026.
Sure.
In the meantime, though, there is construction. So there's a lane that's closed off due to for the construction property and the buses and the trucks to go through.
Yes.
So that's kind of caused a general mess on that road for the meantime. So one of the 8 lanes is closed for construction, and because of this, there's another lane that's opened up on the opposite direction. So the authorities have to relocate the median, the Chungangsan, to another lane with cones and barrels. also pedestrians are affected as well. I've walked around it and it took me like 10 minutes to just go around on that intersection because sidewalks are closed in some parts. So in some areas, you just can't go, you cannot cross the road straight
Right.
on. You have to kind of go through and cross 3 other roads
Yes,
to get
yes.
to where you pretty much were. And other pedestrians have to detour into Olympic Park. So an official from Busan City's construction department said that they have extended the length of traffic lights and will assign additional personnel to direct traffic.
Oh, yes. I'm sure many people are appreciative of this. Finally, there is a job fair starting today for those in their, I guess, if you're middle-aged or you're a senior citizen. And we talked about the whole, like, what exactly is a senior citizen?
Right.
But, let's see what this is about.
But if you're not in perhaps the conventional young, fresh out of college job seeking age and
Yes.
maybe looking for chapter 2 of your life, this may be a good chance for you.
Sure.
So the 2024 Busan 50 Plus Job Fair takes place today at Busan Citizens Park. So this event provides career consultation for older job seekers. And it'll have job opportunities from local companies that are currently hiring. And there will be information booths on colleges for people seeking higher education and fields ranging from transportation to services, security, sanitation, manufacturing, and construction. And there are also booths on taking those resume photos if your photos haven't been updated since the olden days,
Yes.
as well as makeup and image consultation. And participants would also be able to get hands-on experience with especially new technology ranging from ChatGPT, drone flying, digital design, and even brewing. Like beer.
brewing.
Right. So the event is today from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at and around Dasomgwan building.
Yes.
Once again at Busan Citizens Park.
All right. Well, thanks for all the updates, Haley. Back to you, the waivers for now. We're talking about your home, whether it's a house, apartment, or anything in between. How long have you lived there? Or maybe in your particular neighborhood? Do you plan on moving or do you want to stay put? You love your home. So that's what we're talking about. Here's your traffic and weather for right now. It is now time for a traffic report. It is now 7:17. It's looking slow on the Dongso overpass from Bumnekor ramp to the old Kaegum tollgate. It's also backed up on Luno Samsung-daedo from Myeongji Interpass to Shino Bridge. And there is congestion detected on Gwanmun-daedo from Pangnam Tunnel to Baekyang Tunnel. Currently, it's 18 degrees Celsius under partially cloudy skies. It's going to go up to 25 today, so slightly cooler than yesterday. Looking at the weather across the nation, it's going to be cloudy across the southern regions with Jeju seeing some light rain. Big temperature differences forecast today. So be prepared as you get ready for your day. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest, so we're going to continue our discussion with Haley. But right now, we're going to talk about the by-elections because we know the results, right?
We do. So both the ruling and the opposition parties managed to save face, let's say, while none really took any unexpected victories.
Okay.
And the results were clearly divided along the traditional regional political leniencies in Korea.
I see. So let's go through the different races.
Right. So the National Election Commission has all the votes counted. Let's look at the local race, Busan's Kumjeonggu district, where the 구청장, the district head's seat, was up for grabs. People Power Party's candidate Yoon Il-hyun won a landslide victory of 61.03% against Democratic Party's candidate Kim Kyung-ji at 38.96%. There was a fairly low voter turnout, actually the lowest out of all the races at 47.2%. So initially, this was seen as a battleground area because opinion polls had them going neck and neck. But obviously, Yoon once again clinched a landslide victory. And candidate Kim conceded last night, saying that he humbly accepts the choice of the people of Kumjonggu. And the winner, the district head-elect, Yoon thanked the people of the district and stated that this is the reflection of the people wanting a candidate who could lead the district's development.
Okay.
Also going to another PPP stronghold in Gangwon-do, Incheon, the ruling party, candidate also won. Park Yong-chul with 50.97% of the votes. Closer race there with the Democratic Party's candidate Han Hyun-hee taking 42.12%.
Okay.
So there's that. But then we go to the southwestern area in Jeonnam. The Democratic Party took both of the races here. In Gokseong County, DP's candidate Cho Sang-rae winning 55.26% against PPP candidate Choi Bong-hee's 3.48%. And you might be thinking, where are the rest of the votes in that case? Here, a third-party candidate, a Rebuilding Korea Party, Joguk's party's Park Hong-du took 35.85%.
Okay.
So a lot of votes going to the center left. Smaller progressive parties were also in a fairly tight race in Yeonggwang County as well. But the DP once again was able to save face here as the main opposition, with their candidate Jang Se-il taking 41.08% to Rebuilding Korea's Jang Hyun at 26.58% or 56%. And Progressive Party's Lee Seok-ha with 30.72%.
Right. So a lot of the pundits, they were saying that these elections, the by-elections, would be a reflection or kind of a report card on the Yoon administration's performance as well as the respective party leaders.
Right. So for the presidential administration, this is kind of the literal midterm election. We are right at the midpoint, but it also comes just months after the two major parties had their chairman, one re-elected, another one, new one.
Yes.
So the win in Kumjonggu, especially here, was kind of a saving grace for PPP leader Han Dong-un because if the ruling party had lost here, which they had won 7 out of 8 previous elections, it would have been a major hit for the new leader. So this is why he had been in Busan on 6 different occasions to help with the campaign. And actually, one elected official from the ruling party told reporters that Han's openly called on the presidential office to take action regarding the first lady's various scandals. That actually may have worked to mobilize the conservative voter base. And this win is then expected to solidify Han Dong-un's power within the party.
I see.
On the contrary, for the Democratic Party, Kumjonggu's results were definitely a bit of a disappointment, but they were also in for a tough race in Yeonggwang with 2 other progressive smaller party candidates going there, so at least they won there.
Yes.
In terms of upcoming elections, the next election is next April, another round of by-elections, and a major one coming, local elections, are in June of 2026.
So that's the snapshot of what happened with the elections and the ramifications. Next, we're going to talk about the author of the moment, Han Gang. I mean, she has now given her first post-Nobel Prize interview.
Right, and this wasn't with any domestic outlet, but with Sweden. So Nobel Literature Prize winner Han Gang has been fairly silent since her win was announced.
Right.
She released one statement through her publishers thanking the public for their support. And she's been kind of, not officially speaking through her father, but she's been speaking to her father. And he has been speaking to the reporters.
Yes.
So, and she, of course, told him to kind of put off the village party that he was planning because, in consideration of the ongoing wars around the world.
Yes.
But she did give an interview with the Swedish public media, SVT, which was broadcasted, or they interviewed her at her home. It was released on the 13th of this month. So Han basically said that she does not wish to be in the spotlight and that she needs time to think about what this award means for her. So she added that she likes to generally live peacefully and quietly, and she wants to focus on writing. Right. Her celebration also went in line with this because when the journalist asked, so did you not celebrate or you don't want to celebrate? She said, no, she celebrated because she received the call from the Nobel Committee while she was having dinner with her son. So her celebration was drinking chamomile tea after dinner.
So calm.
Very in line
Yes.
in line with her character that we've seen so far. So in fact, though, her subdued attitude does have to do with what's been going on in the world, which also goes in line with the subject matter that she addresses often, which is historical tragedies.
True.
So when asked about what we can learn from these past historical tragedies, author Han said that we have unfortunately had many opportunities to learn from history, but these terrible things keep repeating. But she did express hopes that at some point at least we would learn from the past, because the clear conclusion is that we must stop killing each other.
So, the thing is, those are her wishes, though, to kind of lead this very quiet, very humble life, it seems. But she is the most popular and talked about author, like, in the country.
I know she wants to be under the radar, but we won't let her, is kind of the thing. So her books collectively have sold over 1 million copies in the span of 6 days since her Nobel Prize announcement.
Yes.
I think some of us in the studio definitely contributed. I was really hoping to bring those books to show off, because I wish to not live a quiet and humble life, but they haven't come yet. Anyways, this is at least according to the top 3 booksellers, Yes24, Kyobo, and Aladdin. So the actual numbers with independent bookstores may be higher, but these 3 do collectively make up 90% of the book market. By the way, this doesn't include ebooks, and apparently the 3 publishers or the 3 bookstores say they have tentatively counted 70,000 copies sold so far.
Yes.
So we are looking at about 1.1 million books sold in total. By the way, this doesn't include the previous sales from before the Nobel announcement, which The Vegetarian already sold 1.1 million copies.
Right.
And Human Acts previously had sold 600,000 copies, and it recently sold 400,000 copies in the past 6 days. So together, that's 1 million there too. So in terms of which books are people buying? Human Acts, 소년이 온다 was number 1.
Sure.
The Vegetarian number 2, and We Do Not Part, 작별하지 않는다 were the top 3 in that order.
Yes. Well, all of this is actually unprecedented for the South Korean publishing industry.
Right. So the author herself may be drinking chamomile tea, but some are popping the champagne as they should, because in Korean publishing, if a book sells 50,000 copies, 5만 부, it's a hit.
But
100,000 copies, it's a smash hit.
okay.
So 1 million is like a near miracle. Right. So there are over 60,000 books that get published every year, and they consider it a really good year if there was 1 million seller. Oh. Right. So in the 2020s, in the past 4 years, there have only been 4 books that have made this million seller list. The Teachings of Say No, 세이노의 가르침, and we don't know the author because the author is an online personality.
Sure.
Slam Dunk, the comic book, after the movie went uber popular. 불편한 편의점 by Kim Ho-yeon. The English title is Uncanny Convenience Store. And finally, from author 이미의 달러구트 꿈 백화점, the Dalgut Dream Department Store.
Yes.
So those 4, and now, of course, we have several more. So for a book that was published years, even some decades ago, and for an author's collection to be very evenly popular in this manner in just a span of 6 days, definitely unprecedented. By the way, in terms of just, digesting the Korean publishing industries,
right,
other authors whose works have been collectively popular, they've mostly been international authors. Bernard Weber in Korean or in French, 베르나르 베르베르.
Yes.
He collectively sold 12 million copies. And Murakami Haruki, his novel 1Q84 sold 1 million copies in 8 months. But because he doesn't have an exclusive publisher in Korea, we don't have the collective numbers
I see.
for all of his books.
But just to say once again, history being made right now
Huge
with
deal.
all of this.
And it ties into our main topic of hopefully this means people will continue to read more.
that it's not just a trend. Well, we started our news with the by-elections here domestically, and we're going to end with another election. This time, we're going to go to the U.S. presidential election.
Because, I mean, it's at, just a couple weeks until the big day. Georgia, for early voting, Georgia started early voting. And by the way, in the States, a lot of people do vote early and by mail-in ballots.
Yes.
And interestingly, former President Donald Trump, the Republican candidate, has brought back the issue of defense cost sharing with South Korea, reiterating that South Korea should once again pay a lot more to host the U.S. troops in the country.
Right.
So this was during an interview in Chicago. Trump said that if he were president, Seoul would be paying the U.S. $10 billion per year, and that we would apparently be happy to do it because he called South Korea a money machine.
Well, that's what he says.
That's what he said.
Yes.
Right. So he also touched on the tough special measures agreement negotiations, which is what decides on these defense sharing costs while he was in office. And he confirmed that he demanded South Korea to pay $5 billion per year at that time. But earlier this month, South Korea and the U.S., they reached the 12th SMA agreement to determine Seoul's cost for their share of the cost to keep the U.S. forces in Korea.
Yes.
Under this particular deal, South Korea will pay 1.52 trillion won, which is a little over $1 billion. And that is a little bit up from 1.4 trillion won in what's to be next year. So the new amount will be paid starting in 2026.
Right, so it's moving up incrementally.
Right.
In the meantime, though, the Democratic Party candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris, she's focusing on a very specific group of voters, this demographic, right?
Right. So, I mean, we really try not to pigeonhole voters into one group based on their race or gender, but because there's a clear gender divide on the ticket. Well,
obviously,
male, women versus men. So there seems to be, at least according to opinion polls, a very clear gender divide on what gender voters are likely to vote for one candidate versus another.
Yes.
But then we take that to, we add race to that. Black men. Kamala Harris is kind of having a tough time getting black men to vote for her, at least according to polls.
Yes.
And actually, one prominent black man, former President Barack Obama, actually addressed this. And
he did.
He did. And he very openly said last week that some black men, quote, aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president, unquote. So he really called them out on it. Because recent polls show that 83% of black women supported Harris, while that number fell to 70% when we look at black men.
Interesting.
So Harris has rolled out these plans to give black men more economic opportunities because what women and men see as their priorities are apparently different. Women, reproductive rights and more social issues as opposed to black men who really prioritize the economy. So this has led to some interesting pledges, including supporting legalizing marijuana. Because in that case, once kind of marijuana becomes an official industry, black men could benefit more from this. And also regulating cryptocurrency because apparently there's a higher percentage of black men who are investing in crypto. So, yeah.
Well, we're learning more about this particular demographic.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean just because if you're black, that you're going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Exactly.
Or if you're a woman, that you're going to vote for her, or vice versa. Just because you're a white man does not mean you're going to vote for Donald Trump. It goes both ways.
Right.
So,
but it is an interesting look into how the campaigns are operating at least.
Absolutely. And of course, the polls, they kind of do tell the story of what's happening.
Right.
So that's what's happening stateside. Thank you for all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
And with that, we are ready for our first song break. How about this one? Since we're talking about houses, we have a song request from Benny. This is 우리 집 by 2 p.m.
Hey girl, take you home tonight. Get the me, get the me, get the me, get the take you home tonight. Get the me, get the me. Oh yeah, get the me. 네가 나타나서 내게 무관심인 척 아닌 척하는 게 좀 그래. 네 맘은 안 그래. 내게 눈빛을 줬다 뺐다 다 보이는 네 속마음은 나는 그래. 이 시끄러운 곳을 아무도 몰래 빠져나가 나쁜 맘은 없어 널 조금 더 깊이 알고 싶어 그 아주 부드러운 음악 선고와 헤매고 싶어 눈빛과 몸짓다 네가 하는 말보다 빨라 I know you want me to 맘을 숨기지 마 You know I want it to You don't wanna waste your time It's alright 우리 집으로 가자 It's alright 단 아무도 모르게 10분 뒤에 저 앞에서 너를 기다리고 있을게 It's alright 우리 집으로 가자 우리 집으로 너를 데리고 가는 길에 나는 몰래 미치겠어 I go you go we go baby One more time 우리 집으로 손을 꼭 잡고 올라가는 이 길에 난 미치겠어 I know you know we know baby It's alright 우리 집으로 가자 It's alright 난 아무도 모르게 10분 뒤에 저 앞에서 너를 기다리고 있을게 It's alright 우리 집으로 가자 It's alright 우리 집으로 가자 우리 집으로 It's alright 단 아무도 모르게 baby 10분 뒤에 저 앞에서 너를 기다리고 있을게 It's alright 우리 집으로 가자 우리 집으로
What a fitting song for today, because we're talking about homes. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Top story today, though, we are talking about reading rates, the rate of reading and reading comprehension levels among South Korean students been dwindling, going down in recent years. A survey among public school teachers showed that teachers felt over 20% of their students were lacking in reading comprehension. So many experts, therefore, see this current moment as a key time to raise that rate of reading and improve literary or reading comprehension. So important. Well, the Ministry of Education came up with the basic plans to promote school libraries for the next 5 years. So basically, it's a 5-year plan, including hiring more librarians and strengthening reading classes. Schools also will include goals like reading a book per semester into their regular curricula. Schools will also make use of the public reading education platform to make sure schools and students will be able to choose books based on their reading levels. So the Minister of Education, Lee Joo-ho, said that the ministry will do its best to make sure that this, Nobel Prize win by Hangang will lead to an increase in reading among students, that we can use this as the momentum, the catalyst to get that going. And now we're going to go back to text topic time. How long have you lived in your current home or neighborhood? I'm also curious as to why, if you've lived there, because some of you are telling me, oh, I've lived in a certain area. Like, for example, Yunjung Waver says, 지금 살고 있는 동네에서 25년째 살고 있는데 앞으로도 계속 살 것 같아요. She's lived in the same neighborhood for 25 years. I'm so curious. Why? What's so fantastic? What's so amazing about your neighborhood? Yes. And I always thought, like in Korea, it was very kind of trendy to move from one apartment to another. Like there's a lot of moving going on. But apparently some people really love a particular neighborhood. And if there's a particular reason, 자, 나는 지금 집 혹은 동네에서 몇 년째 살고 있는지, 그리고 이사 가고 싶다 versus 나는 계속 지금 살고 있는 집에 살고 싶다. 그리고 사는 동네나 집, 거기 특별한 이유가 있을까요? 나는 계속 살고 싶다는 웨이버님들한테 던지는 질문. I'm curious. And other people saying, 아침 햇살 waiver says, I live in Kumsan. I've lived in Kumsan for 15 years and will continue. So I had to look it up because I was like, where is Kumsan? The only Kumsan I could find is Chungnam. So I am asking, are you referring to that area, or is there a different Kumsan that I'm not aware of? So those are the messages for now, but I got to get to Cat's Pick for today. For today's Cat's Pick, I want to focus on diplomacy. Yes, we have it here in Korea too. It's called panda diplomacy. Apparently, though, in the U.S., for Washington's National Zoo, there is a fervor going on because of this diplomacy. Let's listen to the clip.
They have fast become the most famous 3-year-olds in the Washington, D.C. area.
Just so much excitement, so much joy to welcome them to our city.
Bao Li and Qing Bao are already settling into their new home, munching on bamboo, climbing on rocks, and taking the opportunity to relax and unwind after a long journey from the other side of the world.
Okay, we have a crate. We have a crate.
The giant pandas arrived from China aboard the Panda Express Tuesday morning. It's a day DC panda fans were worried they may never see again.
It was just devastating when they left. Seeing the trucks pull out, I mean, you could hear a pin drop on Connecticut Ave. It was just silence.
It has been close to a year since pandas, which were part of the National Zoo for more than 50 years, were returned to China, leaving the zoo without one of its biggest attractions, drawing 2 million visitors a year.
I love pandas. I think pandas are awesome. I think it's a staple here in DC, so I'd love to see pandas again.
And these new pandas have a direct connection to their predecessors. Bao Li's mother was born at the National Zoo, and both his grandparents lived there for more than 20 years. The pair will make their home in an upgraded habitat, designed to cultivate a long-term supply of bamboo. It also has new structures to climb on, plenty of rocks, a hammock, and brand new pools, which the pair is already putting to use, all as they settle in.
We're calling it pandemonium, so very excited.
Preparing to meet their biggest fans, anxious for their public debut.
I think it's a big deal for the pandas to be back, and I think that's awesome.
And the countdown is now on. The public debut is scheduled for January 24th. But if you
So as you heard, it's like a fervor. They had not just like those trucks. I can't say the brand name of, the company. Like they had police escorts that escorted those, trucks to the National Zoo. And by the way, these pandas are the first that China has sent to Washington in 24 years because, there was a tearful goodbye. They said bye to a couple of pandas, but now they're finally back. By the way, Bao means precious treasure in Chinese. So that's why you see the bows everywhere. This was Cat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for us to check in with Chris. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Oh, I like the energy. How are you?
I'm doing well. For some reason, I woke up really early today, just on my own before my alarm, and felt well rested.
That means that the experts that we've had on our show before, they say that if you can wake up with an alarm, without an alarm, that means you're well rested.
Yeah.
So definitely good.
Yeah,
what time did you wake up?
6 a.m. this morning.
Oh. I thought it was okay. Like for me, I'm like, I woke up at 4. So,
I know,
okay.
but 6 a.m. is
for
really
you,
early
that's
for
early.
me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to know text topic time. We're talking about homes. How long have you lived in your current home or neighborhood?
I'm living in the around the Suyang Rotary, and I've lived there since 2016.
Oh, so it's been okay. Do the math.
Yeah.
8 years.
About 8 years.
Okay, 8 years.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you continue to live there?
Before I lived there, I
Yes.
moved every single year, and I hated it.
Oh, really?
So when I moved to this place, I said,
This is it?
This is it.
But you like it, though,
I found
right?
a place that I liked. It was big enough, not too small, and it wasn't attached to my job. So it was my own contract, and
Okay.
I said at that point, I'm not moving until I have a reason to. So because moving every single year is exhausting.
It's tough. It is. Well, we're going to dive into what you've brought for Beyond the Headlines. What do you have for us?
Well, I'm glad that the weather has cooled off, and even though the summer weather keeps coming back for hitting us for a bit, but we're quickly approaching one of the most difficult times of year for many of our listeners. So I just wanted to give my support to all of our students out there who are getting ready for their midterm tests.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm glad I don't take exams anymore. I just give them.
I know, we administer it. We grade. We grade the exams and input the grades, yes.
Yeah. It's one of the pleasures of getting older. You don't have to take the exams.
Yes.
But as I get older, I often wonder if I will ever do anything that will bring me lots of fame and notoriety. And there's still hope for me. Lots of people do things as they're older. Alan Rickman, known for a lot of an actor known for a lot of things, but probably most famous for being Professor Snape in the Harry Potter series. Didn't start acting until he was 42.
That's quite late in today's standards, right?
Yeah. Even in his day, that was quite late. Julia Child, the person who did the most to popularize cooking television, didn't release her first cookbook until she was 49.
Oh.
And Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, didn't open his first franchise until he was 62.
We have hope, people.
We have hope,
yes, we do.
And I know that I have had some success in my life, but there's so much more that I could do. I'd love to win an important award. So, have you ever thought about winning a big award like the Nobel Prize?
A big award. I don't have that lofty of a goal. The Nobel, there are only a few categories, and I'm like, not going to happen in my lifetime. But I don't know, a prize for something. I just want to be recognized by the wavers out there. And maybe you're a producer, saying you're the best.
That's like
we can't live
most
without
important
you.
prize.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, but personally, I think I'd like to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. There's something romantic about the prize that that isn't there about the other ones. I want to follow in the footsteps of like Bob Dylan or Octavio Paz. I just heard you talking about this year's prize going to South Korean for the first time. It would be a nice group to be associated with.
Yes.
And
of course.
As you know, there are 5 prizes that were created by Alfred Nobel. The field of physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine. I'm going to refer to it as medicine from here on. Literature and peace. There was a 6th prize that was added in 1969 when the Swedish Central Bank created a prize for economics. So if you hear pedants out there, they'll say it's not a real Nobel Prize, but the Nobel Prize Committee awards it.
So, yeah. And, well, of course, yesterday we had the laureate for medicine on our show yesterday. I'm just saying. Okay. Just wanted to, squeeze that in.
And the prize has been around since 1901 and has been awarded 609 times to 975 people and 25 organizations. Interestingly, 5 people and 2 organizations have received the prize more than one time.
Oh,
so this leads to the all-important question for any aspiring Nobel Prize winner out there.
What's the question?
How can you win a Nobel Prize? Is there a way to optimize your way to winning the prize?
I've never even thought of it because I've never thought like I said, lofty goals, like one day I want to win the Nobel, right? So I'm sure it can't be easy.
Yeah.
Because it's been, 120 years? And then if you look at the odds.
Yeah, the odds are very, very slim.
Right.
Even for people with PhDs doing like groundbreaking scientific work, the odds are very, very small. But there are lots of smart people who would like to win. So,
of course.
Carrie Smith and Chris Ryan took the data published by the Nobel Prize committees and published a guide in the journal Nature, breaking down the easiest way to win the Nobel Prize.
They really got into it. There's like a science behind it. Well, in layman's terms, though, what are the steps?
Well, first, they only looked at the 3 hard science fields.
Okay.
That's the physics, medicine, and chemistry. Since literature is a more subjective field and the Peace Prize really is unpredictable as to who will win it. They also didn't look at the economic prize because it hasn't been around as long. So the first piece of advice they would give is to go for a prize in chemistry, physics, or medicine since it's a more predictable path.
Yes.
And next they looked at the age of the recipients and found that the best chance to win a prize is when you're 54.
54.
54. Since 22 of the 646 winners received theirs when they were that age. But if you're older or younger, don't worry. The average age of the laureate is 58. With the youngest recipient being Lawrence Bragg, who won at the age of 25.
25.
For his work analyzing crystal structures using X-rays. At the other end of the spectrum, the oldest recipient, this name is really fantastic.
What is it?
John B. Goodenough.
Is this a real name?
I believe
John B. Goodenough. Good enough.
It's a beautiful name. But he received his the award in 2019 at the age of 97 for developing lithium-ion batteries.
That's amazing. So once going back to that whole 54, kind of like the golden age.
Golden age, yeah.
Okay, so what else should we know?
Well, unfortunately, the world hasn't always been welcoming to women in science, so it's not really surprising that there are more men than women who have won the prize. Things have gotten better during the entirety of the 20th century. Between the beginning of the award and 2000, only 11 Nobel prizes were awarded to women. And 2 of them were to Marie Curie and 1 of them to her daughter. So that takes care of that. But since 2000, another 15 have been awarded. But still, if you're a woman, the best bet is to win in the science category or the medicine category, with 13 of those prizes having gone to women, with only 5 in physics.
Oh, okay. So I hear that you also did some very, categorizing, right? And so you have additional information for us?
Yeah. So, they say don't wait too long. You do need to wait after you have done it. It takes about 2 decades.
20 years?
20 years. If you're aiming for that 54-year mark, you should start on something by the time you're 30, average around 40. Compared to past times, in the 1960s, the average wait time was only 14 years. In the 2010s, it was actually closer to 30. So
it went back down a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Given that the award isn't given posthumously, so you need to take care of your health, and that would be a big thing.
Meaning?
Live a long time.
So what Chris is saying is you have to be alive to be awarded. I mean, because there's amazing work.
Lots of amazing work.
And then, people pass away.
Yeah. So don't start too late. And if you really want a Nobel Prize, really take care of your health. Make sure that you are you're able to live a long time.
I do have a question for you, though. Like, what about location? Because I'm thinking, if people from a certain area, maybe... Are they favored, or are there more recipients from a certain area?
Yeah, there are more places, more people. Your best bet is to be born in North America and stay there.
Stay there.
More than half the Nobel Prizes were awarded to people in North America, United States and Canada. So if you were born elsewhere, they suggest that you move. Move there. And if you're not a fan of the United States and Canada, there is still a chance that's slightly lower if you were born or moved to Europe.
Europe, okay.
They have done the analysis, and only 10 awardees have come from low to middle income countries, but they had moved to North America or Europe by the time they were given the prize. But more important than the location of your home is the location of the laboratory. Well, actually... the location of the scientists who have already won the Nobel Prize in the laboratory. Nobel Prize winners often emerge from labs with other laureates already working there. The best example they gave was a Nobel family tree, which starts from the physics winner in 1904, which is John W. Strutt. He then had a student who won. This student had like 50 students who won. It led to a 228-person tree.
Wow.
In total, 702 of the 736 researchers who have won a science and economics prize through 2023 are part of the same academic family tree. That's connected somewhere in the history.
Connections.
In fact, only 32 have no connection to the bigger academic family, Nobel tree family.
Wow. So connections are very important. Final tip for today.
Yeah, there's one last tip, and you might consider changing your name.
Why are you laughing for PD name? Because this is how to become a laureate, right?
Yes.
So change your name.
Change your name. 69 of the winners names started with J, and 62 started with an A.
So Chris, you're gonna have to change your name.
I'll have to change my name. So any Jihyuns or Autumns out there, good luck.
My Korean name is Chuna. J. Okay, I'm just kidding. But anyhow, so interesting. Getting the odds to work in your favor in order to win.
Just a little manipulation.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Well, thank you for this really interesting bit. And of course, we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we're going to call it a wrap for hour number 1. So this is our next song, Changes by Love. And this is a song request from TJ Yo Waver.
I think I'm gonna take a break from alcohol. Probably won't last that long, but Lord knows I could use some sleep. Changes, they might drive you half insane, but it's killing you to stay the same. But it's all gonna work out, it's all gonna work out someday. Moments, living with your eyes half open. You've been thinking about these changes. It's all gonna work out, it's all gonna work out someday. I think I'm gonna take some pills to fix my brain, 'cause I tried every other way. But some things you can't fix yourself. But insanity's doing the same thing over and over. And life ain't easy these days. No, life ain't easy these days. Changes, they might drive you half insane, but it's killing you to stay the same. But it's all gonna work out, it's all gonna work out someday. Moments,
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded.
What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. Rival parties secure by-election wins in strongholds. The ruling and main opposition parties won crucial regional by-elections in their respective strongholds in an election that was largely seen as a barometer of public opinion for party leadership and the administration. The ruling People Power Party, PPP, swept its traditional strongholds, Geumjeong District in Busan and Gangwon County in Incheon. The opposition Democratic Party, or DP, took Yeonggwang County, which saw a three-way opposition race, and Gokseong County, both in Cheonnam. A progressive candidate took Seoul's education superintendent's office, replacing left-leaning predecessor Cho Hee-yeon. South Korea monitoring possibility of North Korea sending troops to Ukraine. The Defense Ministry said yesterday it is closely monitoring for signs of North Korea possibly sending troops to support Russia in its war against Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a video address that the country's military intelligence has evidence that North Korea may be sending soldiers to assist Russia on top of weapons. A South Korean Foreign Ministry official said the government is monitoring signs of military cooperation between Russia and North Korea and noted Seoul's deep concern over the reports of the cooperation expanding beyond arms trade to troop deployment. Police catch 474 suspects over deepfake sex crimes. Police have rounded up 474 people connected to deepfake sex crimes so far this year from 921 deepfake pornography-related reports. Of the apprehended suspects, 80.4% or 381 people were teenagers, with 71 being minors aged 10 to 14 who are exempt from criminal liability. Notably, the Busan Metropolitan Police Agency recently referred 2 suspects to the prosecution for creating and sharing illegal sex videos of 11 people during a year-long period. Police plan to keep up the crackdown on deepfake sex crimes until March of next year. South Korea adds over 100,000 jobs in September. South Korea added more than 100,000 jobs for the third consecutive month in September. But jobs in the construction sector fell by the most ever amid an industry slowdown. The number of employed people came to 28.84 million last month, up 144,000 from a year earlier, according to the data compiled by Statistics Korea. September's job growth was led by more positions for older adults aged 60 and older. By sector, new hiring in the information and communications field gained 10.1%, while construction jobs fell by 4.6%. Israeli tank fires at UN Peacekeeper Tower in southern Lebanon. UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon say an Israeli tank has again fired at one of its watchtowers in a direct and apparently deliberate attack, following reports of similar incidents over the past week. Fighting continues in Gaza along with southern Lebanon, where authorities say 16 people, including the local mayor, were killed by Israeli airstrikes on a council building. In Gaza, more aid trucks have reached the north for the third day running after a period of 2 weeks without aid deliveries. And this was News Highlights. right, it's time for issue Waggle Waggle. And we have the woggliest of news to share with our listeners.
Oh my
By
God.
the way, Haley's here. Yes.
It's Jaylee now because I'm
Jaylee.
gunning for my
Jaylee and
Nobel
Catherine,
on
but-
what? Oh, but drum roll, please.
Okay, I have a big announcement for Morning Wave in Busan. Wavers, pay attention, perk up your ears. Next Monday, 4-hour special interview. None other than Edward Lee.
Woohoo!
Yay! Who's Edward Lee? Have you not? Have you been living under a rock? Well, if you have, it's okay. We forgive you. He is the chef extraordinaire. He was featured on the Netting show. Recently, it just concluded. Culinary Class War. So in Korean, what is it?
흑백 요리사.
He's going to be on our show. We got him. Yes.
Kat got him, actually.
No, it was a group effort, but I did DM him.
That group did not include me, by the way. I
kept on DMing
sat
him.
there and I was like, cool,
Until he
guys,
said
this
yes.
is so cool. Guys, keep it up. Let's get him.
And when he finally said yes, there was a little scream.
Oh, there was a big scream.
And then Haley's like, oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Anyhow, so next Monday, tune in. Of course, all of our interviewees are amazing, but it's a big get for us for a tiny little station. But anyhow, let's dive into our first Waggle Waggle issue. The police are investigating this first ever case of someone serving someone else's mandatory military service.
We joke about this. Like, I've definitely had joking, saying, can you take my test for me? And I'm like, I wish I could like transplant my brain into you for the next like day.
Straw.
But that actually happened. So a man in his 20s was caught and is standing trial for having allegedly enlisted for somebody else for money. Of course, what else? So this is the first time that such a case has ever been caught since the Military Manpower Administration, 병무청, was established back in 1970. I mean, it's been caught. We don't know if it's, only one or the first ever. So this involves 조 and 채. Let's get that straight. So 조 is the one who enlisted instead of 채. So 채 is the one who got the conscription letter.
Okay.
But the two allegedly met online and made plans for this, I suppose, substitute enlistment. And they had agreed to split the conscript soldiers' pay, which starts at 640,000 won per month. So once again, that's 640,000 won. That's like roughly $600, like 64만 원. That's not that much to possibly go to jail over.
Right,
you might
this
think.
is illegal, highly illegal.
Right, but it did continue for 3 months until Che confessed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, question though. How was he able to do that? I mean, to get away with it for even 3 months? I mean, do they look alike? I mean, are they like,
right. Are they
doppelgangers?
twins? Like,
Are they
what's
twins?
happening?
Yes.
So Cho went to a training camp back in July with Che's ID, which is photo ID. We don't have pictures of the two, but
Right.
apparently an MMA official didn't properly check the identification. So he was just able to get in. But Che, meaning the guy who was supposed to go into the military but didn't, he confessed to the MMA in September after he basically got scared. He said he was
really?
afraid. It's been kind of killing him the past 3 months because he knew it was wrong. But Cho, the guy who did enlist, he is said to have done it out of economic necessity. So this then raises issues like, well, is there a lax identification process into military facilities of soldiers who would
Now,
be
do we have to check
serving?
everybody?
Well,
don't
I mean, they
know.
should have checked everybody to begin with. This
Right.
thing. So it's only currently when you enlist, it's based on ID cards. Well, I mean, the assumption is, kind of who would want to go a second time or who wouldn't want to go when it's not you, but apparently
Right.
this did happen. So the MMA said that they will implement other forms of identification, including things like facial recognition. So they're looking into
I
it.
see. But I mean, I don't know. He felt guilty, but that's
Right.
literally throwing the person you hired
Exactly,
illegally under the bus.
right.
Yes. All right. Next, some apartment complexes are refusing police officers access to their property. Is this okay?
It's interesting also because, if I code switch, if I look at it from a Korean perspective,
Yes.
I'm like, why wouldn't you? But if I look at it from like an American perspective, well,
Where's your
warrant? Exactly.
Let's see the paperwork.
Interesting.
Yes.
So this is a program in Korea and South Korea called Polpass, Police Pass, which lets police officers have open access to the common entrance of an apartment building, not to like your unit.
I was going to say, no, thank you.
Where is your warrant? But
yes.
to the lobby, to the elevator area. So this is to cut down the response time in case of emergency calls.
Yes.
So apartment tenants associations, after they go through a consent getting process, they issue the police station or the precinct in that area an electronic card, the tag card, or they will give them the passcode.
Yes.
However, according to data compiled from local governments, only about 46.5% of all apartments have this system in place. So under half. Sejong is a weird outlier because it has 0%, but the entire city is in the process of getting like the entire city's apartments to approve that all at once. Right. So it's not like they're not like all refusing.
Okay.
But for one of the lower ends, Seoul at 24%.
Oh, okay. So question now is why is the implementation rate so low?
So according to the police agency and some local police stations, they explain that this is from some residents or apartment communities basically refusing access. Number one issue, privacy. But there was a complaint or complaints issued in some Seoul area apartments that claim if the police are seen going in and out of the property, it can lower housing prices.
Oh.
So it's that almighty real estate again.
Not in my neighborhood, right?
Right. This argument may have merit because if we look at districts that actually have 0% implementation rate, not because they're in the logistics process, these are Yongsan, Gwangjin, and Dongdaemun in Seoul, pricier neighborhoods. And then Seocho and Seongbuk, also very high-end neighborhoods, have under 10% implementation rate. But police officers say that having to go through the central security system can lead to delays in their response. So, of course, privacy and public safety is a delicate balance. But
true. Interesting, though, to look at it from this perspective. I've never even thought about this. Police having access to your apartment complex. Once again, not like your personal.
No, they're not busting through your doors, but can they take the elevator?
Yes. All right. Well, let's move on for now. Here's a sign that Korea's general work-life balance. We care about all the time. Maybe getting a little better.
Tiny bit better.
Tiny. Okay.
At least this is according to data based on capital area subways.
Right.
In the past 5 years, workers in the 5 major office or business districts, so in Gwanghwamun, Gangnam, Yeouido, Guro, and Pangyo, are getting on the subways after work 19 minutes earlier than they previously did. Which, by the way, 19 minutes is like 19 minutes, but then if, we're going home 20 minutes earlier, that's fun.
Yes.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is based on KB Card, which analyzed the card tagging at these major business districts. In 2019, people's evening subway tagging time on average was 6:47 p.m. But then this year, that average time was cut down or was earlier at 6:28 p.m.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
not
good news.
Insignificant. Right.
Right. So how do people use this extra time? What do they do?
Right. So interestingly, when it came to spending, eating out actually decreased, but leisure activities went up.
Okay.
So it makes sense. So if you do have extra few minutes, you are maybe likely to go and cook at home. Yeah. So people on average, we do have to factor in inflation because between 2019 and now, things went up. So on average, spent 127,000 won on eating out in a month, which is a 15% increase in terms of sheer amount. But on occasions, how many times they ate out, fewer than 5 occasions per month.
Okay,
so it's
I was gonna say.
roughly once a week. Yeah. But for leisure activities, spending increased both in the amount and the number of occasions. Slightly from 2.1 to 2.3. But once again, if that's like an extra gym class or like an extra art class, not insignificant.
We're moving in the right direction.
We are moving in the right direction.
Yes.
So the card company analyzed that people in general are getting off of work slightly earlier and their lifestyles are changing.
Yes. Well, thanks for telling us about this. What about getting better? Lastly, this elementary school teacher gave her student an invaluable lesson on how to properly say goodbye.
Right. So have you ever had to move schools as a child?
Oh, yes.
Right. The 전학, the dreaded 전학. It's a big change. And as like a, 10-year-old who's like your life has been that, that it's a big change. But sometimes adults do have a tendency to like kind of play it down like, oh, well, you're young, you'll adjust. But like, oh, okay.
But for that child,
yeah.
I remember.
Right.
I mean, I didn't move around that much, but even the few times that I did,
exactly.
it was just like, traumatic.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, we did move before the age of email. So,
Yes.
But this particular elementary school in Anyang sent their friend off with a really proper goodbye. Let's take a listen.
My gosh.
Right. They're like, why are they so good?
No, off air, I'll say, how are they so like in tune?
They're a choir. All right,
but still.
So in this video, this is the school's choir, 5th and 6th graders. You can see, if you are on our YouTube, the girl is at the front of the class. She's the one moving, and they serenade her. They change the lyrics. So it's 헤어질 때 하지 못했던 말 고마웠어, 미안했어, 행복했어. Is something I couldn't tell you when we were saying goodbye. Thank you. You made me really happy. And I'll miss you. So you can see the girl very, very moved. She's crying at the front of the class. So we have to credit the school's choir teacher.
Yes.
Ms. Taeun-mi, who posted this online. She noticed that when kids moved away, they were just so nonchalant about it. Okay, bye.
Bye.
안녕, 잘 가.
그래, 잘 있어.
It's very dry. So she was like, it's very 상막해. It's so dry. And then she kind of realized after she like taught the students a song and tried it out a couple times and everybody got emotional that it's not because the kids are like cold-hearted or tease. Of course not. But they just they were never taught to express emotions and they were just never given an outlet to do this. So now they do. Her choir also, by the way, it's very open and just goes to the heart of the teacher. It doesn't have auditions. She doesn't care if one's a good singer. But then we heard they all are.
That was my first comment. They're like in tune.
They're very good.
Yes.
She just doesn't care if a member's good at singing, just whether if they are willing to work hard and get along with the other kids.
Important.
Very important. So important lessons being taught in schools, which really goes to show it's not just about academics, but this is where kids socialize and learn the ways of life.
I was offended. What's wrong with teas?
I don't know. But there's nothing wrong with teas.
We have the exact
teas are great.
We are both teas.
Yeah.
Yes. But thank you. And we will try to be less tea-ish. And we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Bye.
All right. Now it's time for your updated traffic and weather. It's time for your updated traffic report. There was an accident on Pansongno from Pansong in the direction of Seokdae intersection right by the Seokdae Minwonchil. So please be aware of that area. There's congestion being reported on Pyeongno from Suyong Tunnel to Wondong Ramp, actually in both directions. Also backed up on Gwangan Bridge going toward Taeyeon Overpass. Also, there's another bout of congestion on Chungnyeoldae from Minam intersection to Mandak Tunnel number 2. As for the weather, it's currently 19 degrees Celsius. It's going to go up to 25. And looking at the weather nationwide, it's going to be cloudy across the southern regions with Jeju seeing a little bit of rain. There is a big gap, though, forecast today between the temperature now and, of course, the high. So you might want to just be aware of that. This was your traffic and weather. There's been some breaking news regarding one of the members of One Direction, Liam Payne, apparently passing away. So here is Story of My Life.
Written in these walls walls are the stories that I can't explain. I leave my heart open, but it stays right here empty for days. She told me in the morning she don't feel the same about us in her bones. Seems to me that when I die, these words will be written on my stone. And I'll be gone, gone tonight. The ground beneath my feet is open wide. The way that I've been holding on too tight, with nothing in between. The story of my life, I'll take her home. I'll drive all night to keep her warm in time. It's frozen. The story of my life, I give her hope. I spend her love until she's broke inside. The story of my life. Written on these walls are the colors that I can't change. Leave my heart open, but it stays right here in its cage. I know that in the morning now, see us in the light upon the hill. Although I am broken, my heart is untamed still. And I'll be gone, gone tonight. Fire beneath my feet is burning bright. The way that I've been holding on so tight, with nothing in between. The story of my life, I'll take her home. I'll drive all night to keep her warm in time. It's frozen. The story of my life, I give her hope. I spend her love until she's broke inside. The story of my life. And I've been waiting for this time to come around. But baby, running after you is like chasing the clouds. The story of my life, I take her home. I drive all night to keep her warm and time is frozen. The story of my life, I give her hope. I spend her love until she's broke inside. The story of my life. The story of my life. The story of my life. The story of my life.
All right. While listening to that song, though, kind of sad to learn about the passing. We don't know the details. We just know he's 31, former member of One Direction, Liam Payne, who passed away. And, always sad to hear about any artist who goes so early. I mean, he was just 31. Anyhow, we're not going to try to presume what happened. We don't have the details yet. We're not going to get into that today. Well, our text topic, though, we asked you, and it's all about where you live. What do you love about your home? Or maybe you're looking to move, actually. So many of you sent in messages, and I want to read this message from Young, who says that, I've been in Korea. I've been living in Korea for a little over a year now, and I never realized what a great place my country is. I'm really enjoying my time here, and I finally understand why people say that living abroad can make you more of a fan of your home country. And he adds, definitely proud to be a Korean. So I was curious. I said, hadn't realized Young had lived abroad for so long. So he says that he used to live in Brazil, a country full of passion. But now my heart is here in South Korea, where I was born, my country of passion. Oh, that's kind of poetic. And thank you for sharing such a personal story about moving back to Korea. Well, we do have to get to 2 special interviews, so I'll be back in just a moment. Waivers, as you've probably heard or seen in the news, North Korea warned last week that by blowing up the sections of the interkorean roads and rail lines on its side of the heavily fortified border between the 2 Koreas, it had warned South Korea of this, and they actually went through with this. So as tensions in the region right now are escalating, Pyongyang does seem appearing to bolster its defense capabilities, aligning with its long-standing narrative of self-protection. That's their message. So let's find out what the latest actually means and what this might signal for the future. We've invited back to the airwaves Professor Brian Myers, Professor of International Studies at Dongsu University. Let's say hi to him. Hi, welcome back.
Hey there.
Yes. So this happening, blowing up sections of the roads leading to South Korea, vice versa, parts of the interkorean roads. What message do you think Kim Jong-un is trying to send to South Korea by kind of like getting rid of the last physical connections between the 2 Koreas?
Well, to explain, the outside world has never really taken the North Korean nuclear program seriously enough for Kim Jong-un's liking. North Korea doesn't pose a threat to Israel, which is America's #1 foreign policy priority. So when something in the Middle East happens, Washington turns its attention there, and North Korea recedes from the headlines. But one reason for this is that Washington doesn't greatly fear that North Korea could attack South Korea, because North Korea is a nationalist country that has always promised to liberate the South Korean masses from Yankee domination. Now, if Kim Jong-un wants to free his ethnic brothers and sisters, he's not going to want to wipe Seoul off the map, right? So this is why the regime all year has been broadcasting that now it regards South Koreans as hostile foreigners. It's given up on peaceful unification and so on. But this talk also sends another message, which is that now North Korea can be trusted to abide by a peace agreement. So the message is, okay, we broke a lot of deals in the past, but the world can trust us now because we no longer aspire to conquering South Korea. And, the destruction of roads and railways connecting the 2 Koreas is all part of that. It's a flashy move. It gets the world's attention. They were blowing up those roads with different colored explosives, for visual effect. Right. And it increases tension without doing anything really risky.
Well, thank you for assessment of what's going on right now. So this focus on fortification, do you think that is the main focus? I know you've told us your initial opinions right now, but if we can delve a little bit more into the whole fortification strategy that North Korea might be pursuing, what do you think is on the horizon right now?
Well, I don't think that fortification is the main reason why they're doing this. Obviously, the great danger to North Korea is an attack from the air and not over the land. North Korea's planes are really old, so it would be natural for the Americans, who don't like land wars anyway, to attack by air. And I don't think we're going to see a lot more fortification, despite what they're saying. Countries never like to fortify their border too heavily, even if they have an enemy right next door, because if you fortify it too much, that can hinder your own army's mobility, and it can limit offensive tactics against your neighbor should they be necessary. I've actually taken those roads to North Korea. I went by bus from Seoul to Kumgangsan and then by bus from Seoul to Kaesong in 2006 and 2008, when you can take a day trip to North Korea and be back late at night. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like those roads were just a tiny opening in a great barrier of fortifications. You could look out the window, particularly on the road to Kaesong, and you could see there were a lot of open spaces. There were a lot of soldiers, sure, but there was a lot of room to move around. So I think North Korea might put up some tank barriers, some tank traps. might plant a lot of landmines, not least to discourage people from running away from North Korea. But I don't see it doing a lot more than that.
I see. So what about this whole reporting from various outlets regarding North Korea supplying weapons and manpower to Russia? Because that's also of concern, this whole connection between North Korea and Russia, with them seemingly, really trying to strengthen their ties. So do you think there's any credibility in the reports that North Korea might be sending troops to Ukraine to fight in defense of Russia?
Yeah, I do find it very credible. The North hasn't experienced intense, prolonged fighting since 1953, or perhaps even earlier. And for a military-first country facing a very experienced United States, that's a big deficit. So I think that's a reason why Kim would want to send troops if they really are going to Russia in the kind of numbers that we're hearing about.
Yes. So on that, in that vein, Professor, do you think that there will be more support, even verbally, from Russia in support of North Korea, this vice versa, kind of this, bromanship going on between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, that's what this is all about. North Korea is helping Russia in order to get a reliable friend in the UN Security Council who will veto any new resolution aimed at North Korea. North Korea wants a country that's rich in food and oil and gas that will supply North Korea regardless of sanction. It wants a source of nuclear and ballistic technology. And it wants a military ally who's going to help out if North Korea is ever under attack. So, yeah, I think we're going to see this partnership deepening.
And for a final wrap-up question for you today, Professor Myers, what do you think is next? Because I've been getting a few phone calls from people in the Seoul area. They keep on asking me, and I say, I'm not an expert on North Korea or the relationship between the two Koreas. Do you think that the tension is palpable, or do you think this is just more of a saber rattling once again, more of for show, as you said earlier, with the different colored explosions and whatnot?
Yeah, all this year there's been an apparently orchestrated campaign of Pyongyang watchers in America saying, the tension on the peninsula has never been higher than it is now. And that's not true, actually. Tension was a lot higher in the spring of 2013. I don't know if you can remember that far back, but in those days, tension was a lot higher. Diplomats in Seoul were sending their families back home. But people in America are saying it's super high now. And the U.S. must finally start to come to terms with North Korea being a nuclear power. And I take that as a signal that the foreign policy establishment in the United States is ready to resign itself to North Korea as being a nuclear power. It's not going to formally recognize it as one. But I think that whoever wins the American election in November, we're going to see at least working level negotiations start up again aimed at some sort of deal in the near future.
I see. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insight on this hot matter. Thank you, Professor Myers.
Thank you, Catherine.
But this was our special interview.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
Waivers for a complete change of pace. Let me ask you this. Can you imagine living to like 90 or even like 100 or beyond? Well, I know I've read reports, and maybe you've seen the reports too, of this whole idea of like, can we live longer, go beyond the 100 years of age mark? Well, it sounds exciting, but recent research suggests that we might be approaching the limits of just how much time modern medicine can give us. And so we have all these advances in public health that have allowed humans to live longer than ever before. But what if, that big leap in life expectancy isn't really realistic, not really around the corner? Well, let's find out more, because we have invited to the airwaves Dr. S.J. Olshansky, who's a professor in the School of Public Health at the University of Illinois at Chicago and research associate at the Center on Aging at the University of Chicago, and just really recently led this research, or it was published regarding this very topic. So we have him on air with us. So welcome to the program, first of all.
Thanks. Good morning.
Yeah, so if you could explain, first of all, how public health interventions, especially, during the 20th century leading up to the 21st, things like better hygiene, vaccines, etc., have really helped increase life expectancy?
Well, look, back around 1900, life expectancy in most countries was somewhere in the 30 to 50 range. It was very low, and it was very low because of high infant, child, and maternal mortality. So the average duration of life was brought down by early mortality. Public health created a radical increase in life expectancy in the 20th century. We saved the young. We got to live these long lives. We now routinely live past the age of 60. Many live into their 70s, 80s, and 90s. The exchange that we made was longer life, but we got heart disease, cancer, stroke, and Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So we got to experience aging for the first time.
Right. So if we do a comparison, like you say, the comparison from like 30 to 50 years life expectancies to what we have now, it has, of course, increased vastly. But I do want to talk about this recent paper. I believe it was published in Nature Aging, and you were the lead researcher on this. If you could tell us more about your research and how in the research, I didn't read the entire paper, obviously, but through the tidbits, I did read about things like manufactured time, this terminology. Maybe you can help us in layman's terms understand this concept first.
It's actually incredibly simple and intuitive. So we gained these 30 years in life expectancy. We got a lot more people living out to older ages. But as it turns out, most people now living beyond the age of 60 are living on what we have referred to as manufactured time. So time that has been created by medical technology. I'm one of them. I'm 70 years old. Most people in my age range are living on time that was created for us, whether it be a surgical procedure of one kind or a stent or a pharmaceutical or something that has been used to save the lives of individuals. They work, and they work incredibly effectively. The problem is that in the modern era, while these advances in life-extending technologies have accelerated, we consider these to be temporary Band-Aids. So the older you get, the more difficult it becomes to live longer, because we run up against a fundamental biological process of aging that needs to be thought of differently from the diseases that appear at later ages. So it's a product of success. When you get people to live as long as we have, they get to experience the biological aging of our bodies and our mind. And that's the limit that we're facing right now. And that's the reason why, as populations live longer, the rate of improvement must slow down. And you're actually seeing that in South Korea, even though South Korea has seen some of the most rapid improvements in life expectancy, and you have one of the highest life expectancies in the world.
Right.
The rate of improvement's going down, even though advances in medical technology are going up. And so that's exactly what we predicted would happen in 1990 in an article in Science. We waited 34 years to look at the data to see what would actually happen, and we now know the answer. The answer is that life expectancy must slow down in long-lived populations because of success, not because of failure.
Interesting. The fact that you're calling it a success and not failure, the mindset of that. So that's why, is that why now I can go back to kind of the second part of my first question was going to be why you think that we are kind of reaching the upper limits of this progress where, because some people out there, they call themselves experts and they're touting things like, oh, we're going to live beyond 100, etc. Everybody has seen the headlines, I'm sure, in one form or another. So you're saying that may not be true.
Well, look, so let me make sure I clear one thing up.
Okay.
The number of people that are going to make it past the age of 100, which I will refer to as prevalence. So the prevalence of older individuals is inevitably going to rise. That's baked into the age structure of the population. It's not complicated, right? We had this large baby boom generation born between 1946 and 64. And as they grow older, the number of people that in these age ranges will rise dramatically. So in the year 2046, we're going to see a pretty large increase in the number of centenarians. But that rise in prevalence needs to be decoupled from life expectancy. So life expectancy can go down and prevalence of older people can go up. And that's exactly what's happening in the United States. But let me go directly to your question, which is, these promises that we're all going to live to 100, these were made shortly after our 1990 article in Science came out. It was overly optimistic, and it was a false promise. Unfortunately, most people aren't going to make it. Even in Korea, maybe 5-6% of the population could make it out, maybe a little bit more under the best of conditions, but
Sure.
it's difficult to create the best of conditions. So yeah, there's lots of people that are selling longevity. Selling longevity is the second oldest profession. People have been selling it for thousands of years, and they're trying to make money on it today. It doesn't mean that there isn't really good science going on that has the potential to allow many more people to live longer. It's just that we're not there yet.
I see. Oh, well, thank you for clarifying also about the decoupling of the two ideas as well. And so from what I understand, Professor, you've said that we need to kind of shift our focus, not just away from just treating diseases, but maybe also to targeting aging itself. Is that a correct paraphrasing of what you've put out there?
It is. So remember, the trade-off that we had in the 20th century was we reduced early age mortality, we got to live long lives, and now we get to experience the aging of our cells, tissues, organs, and organ systems. Why else do you see these wrinkles here and this white hair and lack of hair here completely, right? This is what happens when you get out for many people, into their 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. But the underlying process that contributes to that is what we think is inherently modifiable. So there's no reason why we can't slow down this process, so that somebody who reaches the age of 70, like me, may biologically be more like a 60-year-old or a 50-year-old. And I think that this is inherently possible in the world of science, if for no other reason than it's already been accomplished in other species. There is no death program. There is no aging program that says, humans can't, manufacture more survival time. And I believe the next pathway forward. Now, when these interventions come online eventually, and I think you and I hopefully will both benefit from these interventions, we can't know how much longer we're going to live, but it is certainly possible and perhaps likely that it will extend our health span. And in the end, we think that that's probably the most valuable commodity on earth, and it's the one thing we should be pursuing the most.
You mentioned something really interesting right now. You said healthy life and health span, because personally speaking, and many of our listeners have chimed in before, during previous discussions saying, many of our listeners say they simply don't want to live longer just to say, I got to be 100 years old. They want to live healthily and, really focusing on the health and the well-being aspect. Isn't that really important, not just getting to a certain number, but to be healthy of body and mind as well?
Yeah, look, if you ask any older individual, or almost all older individuals, and I had this discussion with my father when he was 95 years old, and he said, look, I don't really care how long I live. The number doesn't mean anything to me. He said, while I'm alive, I just want to be healthy. I just want to enjoy life as much as I can. And he did, right up until 8 days before he died. And so in the end, healthy life, I consider to be the most precious commodity on earth, and researchers that are pursuing the extension of healthy life are manufacturing, I think, one of the most precious commodities that exists. And I think science is on the verge of a breakthrough in manufacturing healthy life, or healthier life, for us all, and we should be excited. That's what geroscience is. Geroscience is this effort to allow us to find ways of extending the period of healthy life or youthful vigor into later ages. So I'm very optimistic. But until that happens, we have to live with the bodies that we inherited from our ancestors, and those bodies aren't designed for long-term use. And so, yeah, we have reached in the modern era a point where we're not going to get radical increases in life expectancy anymore. And it is inevitable that the rise in longevity will slow down, even in the face of advances in life-extending technologies that don't slow aging, that go after one disease at a time.
I see. So as we wrap up our discussion with you today, Professor, how to better kind of balance, as we say, that whole longevity versus quality of life. And you mentioned geroscience. Is there anything that we can be doing right now to kind of, maintain our healthy status while we can?
Yeah, it's not complicated. It's like flossing your teeth. If you want to make your teeth last longer, you floss them, you clean them every day. Well, with these bodies, it's exercise is one of the most powerful ways that you can extend the period of healthy life. You can get these bodies to function longer. And of course, you have to avoid the things that shorten life, right? So you shouldn't be smoking or drinking.
Sure.
These are the things that shorten life. Most people that smoke and drink excessively will shorten their life. So avoid the things that shorten life. The things that you can control, you should control, which is, it's certainly a big problem in the United States, would be to lose some weight. But exercise is extraordinarily powerful. Is it a guarantee that, you're going to live a much, much longer life? No. But does it increase the probability that you will live healthier longer? Absolutely. It's a very powerful tool.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all your insight from your latest research and, of course, your body of research with us. Thank you, Professor.
Thanks for having me.
This was Professor Jay Olshansky, and this was our special interview. It is now time for City Insights, which means, hey, Anzir, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful day.
It is. You're looking quite lovely. Love the royal blue. Love it. Looks so good. All right. Let's dive into our first City Insight.
All right. So the International School of Busan, or ISB, has been working on shaping students into global citizens.
Sure.
Ready to make their mark around the world. And an important part of ISB's success is its dedicated PTA, the Parent-Teacher Association, which is a passionate team of parents and staff working together to really make the school community thrive. So I got to sit down with the head of the school, Simon McCloskey, along with their chair of the PTA, Emma, and the PTA secretary, Andrea.
Yes.
So actually, the school recently celebrated their 40th anniversary.
Already?
So in the first clip that we're going to listen to, Simon is going to give us a bit of the history and the background of the school. So let's take a listen.
All right.
The school has been in town since 1983, and it was set up initially by a group of expatriate parents who wanted an international education for their kids. And it started off initially with just 12 children and 2 teachers. Wow. And it's grown gradually ever since. It moved to a purpose-built facility on Dalmaji Hill in 1999, but then it gradually grew out of space for the students. And then in 2010, the Busan Metropolitan City built a brand new purpose-built international school in Gijang. And we successfully bid to run the school on their behalf. And now we have about 350 students from representing 40 nationalities. And we're a 3-program international baccalaureate world school.
Oh, so major growth. I mean, they started with 12 students and 2 teachers.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And 40 years after that now, hundreds of students from different countries.
Sure.
Now, ISB is very well known for their unique and well-rounded curriculum. They have a strong emphasis on the academic stuff, but they they also have 3 different focuses. He explained that their first focus is digital literacy. So to guide the students in the right direction so that the recent advancement of AI can impact them in a positive and healthy way.
Okay.
They also focus on wellness and sports. So they actually have students compete internationally in different sports. And a big focus on creative arts.
Yes.
So that's something that sets them apart from other schools. They said they have a great theater program, music, and arts. And speaking of school programs, I was curious, Catherine, when you were in school, in middle school or high school, what kind of extracurricular activities were you involved in?
All of the above. No, I'm just saying, I was really active, and it started out, with elementary school. Like, my mom was like the head of the PTA at my elementary school, and it was just constantly between, I won't say I was an athlete, so I did cheerleading instead, but music, student council, the full range of whatever was available at school.
And do you think that really kind of laid the foundation for you to become...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My time on the debate team, helping me right now.
Here we go.
Yes.
I was very serious about my violin practice and orchestra. Well, when it comes to a thriving school community, the role of the PTA is very important. So to tell us more about the PTA at the ISB, International School of Busan, we're going to hear Emma and Andrea talk about the role that the PTA plays. So let's have a listen.
The PTA plays an important role, I would say, in creating a strong and supportive community at ISB. PTA helps cultivate a welcoming environment for both new and returning families, ensuring everyone feels included and connected.
The atmosphere within our ISB PTA community is absolutely fascinating. Everybody is very positive, supportive, inclusive. So everybody is engaged, and we have a strong sense of collaboration. Also, we are diverse community. So as you can see, for example, Emma is from Sweden, I'm from Serbia, and also an American. Simon is from England. We have families from all over the world in our school, and you can feel that positive energy that contributes greatly to the overall school experience for both students and for the families.
Yes. So when I was younger, my mother actually, because of the language barrier when we were in the U.S., she didn't feel comfortable enough to join the PTA. So that was something that, looking back, I wish there was a more welcoming community and atmosphere like the way they're describing.
I giggled a little because my mom had the same language barrier and she did not care. She was a bulldozer.
I love that.
Looking back now, I kind of cringe with a little bit of embarrassment and endearment because I'm thinking, I know her language skills now aren't even,
but
very good in English.
Yeah.
The fact that, she was able, and she became the president of the PTA when I was in upper elementary school.
That's trailblazing. I love that.
At that time, we were the only Asian family in the whole community. So she had no choice but to kind of try to fit in. But I'm sure, as you say, it was very difficult for her.
Yeah.
Looking back, right?
That makes me think of a time when we lived in Maryland. My grandma, 외할머니, came to visit us. Didn't speak a word of English. But she was just free whenever she went to the grocery store.
Sure.
So 이거 얼마예요? And she just spoke in full Korean.
I love it.
계산해라. And they communicated. It was incredible. Yeah.
Love that. The fierce people in our lives,
yes.
right? Yes.
Well, there is a big event coming up at the school this Saturday.
Ooh, what is it?
It's the school is holding the annual International Day celebration. So it brings together the families, friends, and the local community for a day of cultural celebration, global connection, and a lot of fun. So everything from fashion shows of traditional clothing from different cultures, live performances, beverages, and of course, delicious, diverse food.
Yes.
So the doors are open to everyone who wants to come and join from 10 a.m. this Saturday until 2 in the afternoon. So if you're interested, you can use this opportunity to join the ISB community.
Yes, and I have to say, like, the PTA experience, I think, like, stateside and in other countries versus, like, what it is in Korea, it is quite different, though, culturally.
Yeah.
Because, like, I noticed, like, in Korea, because they don't want parents kind of, like, in air quotes, influencing teachers and how the teachers might then kind of favor certain children.
I see.
So there's kind of more of a disconnect, or at least they try to, whereas in, you know, like for ISB and other like Western cultured schools, there is a very well-rounded kind of throng, this community of parents and teachers coming together. And I'm not saying anything negative about the Korean culture. I'm just saying it is different.
Yeah.
Yes, there's kind of this line that you're not supposed to cross, right, in terms of getting friendly.
You know, it does make me think of that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And Simon really said that it's so important for the teachers and the parents to be one team together.
I love that. Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for bringing us this, all this valuable information for City Insights.
So everyone, if you happen to be near Gijanggun this weekend, and if you're interested, join the International School of Busan's International Day celebration on Saturday.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Haeyeon. Have a wonderful week. We'll check in with you real soon.
Take
Bye.
care.
And with that, it is time to wrap up our morning together. So it's been a very full, robust morning. We had our two special interviews, very different in topic, the two inter-Koreas versus, of course, aging and being healthy and living a long life. We're going to end it with this one, though. Like You All by Lassie Lind. Wishing you the best today on this Thursday morning. Bye, everybody.
BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로 하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM